Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on gender and crime, looking at the impacts of sex role theory. For those who've studied families and households, the ideas of Parsons and sex role theory will be quite familiar. However, while they are usually applied to family life, they can also be used to explain the differences in rates in criminality between males and females, as Parsons applied his idea of socialization into gender roles to the area of crime and deviance. For those unfamiliar with Parsons' ideas, he suggested that within the family, males and females are best suited to different roles within the family, partly based upon their biological characteristics and partly due to how they're socialized. Males were socialized into the instrumental role, providing financial support for the family and being responsible for discipline. The expressive role was taken on by females, and this involved looking after the emotional needs of the family, caring for and nurturing children, and providing emotional support for a husband and dealing with the domestic labour in the household. The social expectations to perform these roles, according to Parsons, can help to explain the differences in rates of offending for males and females. There was a further function of the instrumental and expressive roles that Parsons examined, and that was the socialisation of children into their future gender roles. And according to Parsons, this had impacts on the different rates of offending between males and females. He argued that socialisation had more of an impact on girls as they were socialised into the expressive role, and that their mother was on hand to provide support for them as she was based in the domestic sphere. For boys, the absence of the father, while at work and with having less input into their child's socialisation, meant that males were less adequately socialised into their gender roles and the expectations of what it meant to be a man. While they may have observed their fathers as providers, they were less sure of how this was fulfilled, as many of the duties associated with the instrumental role were conducted outside of the home. Furthermore, the role of socialisation can explain the differences in behaviours of males and females. Boys are socialised into more aggressive and competitive pursuits such as sports. Their physicality also leads to them being given more independence over their time and space, with boys being given later curfews and being seen as safe to be out of their parents' view. Girls, on the other hand, are more protected. They are often socialised into interests inside of the home, which some feminists would criticise as a form of social control over girls. As a result, girls have less opportunity to commit crime, as they're watched by their parents more. Boys are given more freedom, and this, combined with less secure socialisation from the fathers, can lead to criminal behaviours, particularly under the influence of peers. For boys, this peer reinforcement often comes through being involved in a subculture or a gang. Boys will be rewarded for displays of masculine behaviour within subcultures by their peers, and this can be a form of compensation for the lack of status they have in a female-dominated home. Through seeing deviant behaviours reinforced, boys are then socialised into behaving aggressively or competitively, or displaying other behaviours that are linked to criminality. Sex role theory is highly influential in its time, and the ideas of gender socialisation being linked to criminality have been taken up by other theorists. Whilst Cohen was influenced by Merton's concept of strain in his research, he also examined boys from lone parent families, based upon assumptions of inadequate socialisation. And while society may have changed in the years since Parsons' theory, new right theorists have adopted Parsons' ideas of incomplete socialisation, most notably Charles Murray on focusing on the underclass of idle young men who were brought up by lone parents. Further research by Tony Sewell into black criminality has suggested that the higher rate of lone parenthood in black communities is part of the reason for increased gang membership by black males. Although many critical race theorists have been dismissive of Sewell's ideas, stating that they promote dangerous stereotypes of the black community, with many black fathers groups coming out in support of Sewell's critics. Sex role theory, however, is based upon outdated notions of gender roles and gender socialisation. Written at the height of the modern era, Parsons' theory cannot be applied in full to contemporary society with its greater diversity of family types and lifestyles. Parsons' ideas of roles and socialisation were based upon the nuclear family, and while that still remains, it's no longer as dominant as it was in Parsons' era. The rise in female criminality since Parsons' time also suggests that socialization into gender roles has changed. With girls being more assertive and having more freedom over their time and space, there are now more opportunities for female criminality, and this echoes a point made by Adler's liberation thesis. The lower female criminality of Parsons' time can be argued to have been the product of excessive control over women, in part due to the process of socialization, and the ideas of both Heidenson and Carlin are relevant in addressing this. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on gender and crime, focusing on Talcott Parsons' sex role theory. Thanks for watching.